MAGA musician permit revocations spark public space debate. Good golly, Miss Molly, what is it about this MAGA Christian rock musician? What's going on here? Why is apparently every municipality in Canada giving him the cold shoulder and saying you're not welcome here?
Oh, the CBC. First of all, if any of you are concerned about, freedom of expression or freedom of religion and you haven't been following this story, it is time to follow this story. I believe this is the fourth year that Christian worship musician Sean Foyt has come to Canada. It's actually not the first time he's had roadblocks, but this is like none other. If you're a believer, you would call it supernatural, the attacks he's getting. And that headline with CBC is half of the problem, calling him a mega musician. He ran for Congress under the Republicans. So what? I'm sorry, you can't run for a political position and then come to Canada and do free Christian worship conferences. So I've been saying that MAGA turn, that rhetoric is literally just being used to disguise or cover up or excuse our blatant Christophobia of not one, not two, not three, but it keeps counting. So I don't even know if I'm accurate as I sit here, but at least 6 different Canadian events, tax paid for events, revoking the permits to these free performances that have happened across Canada for years, like I just said, without any incident. Not a single purple-haired Karen has been harmed. It's actually embarrassing, it's disgraceful, it's concerning for Christians, of course, because thousands show up. But here's what I think the real concern is. And we only have to play like 30, 40, 50 seconds of this to get a gist. This is what I think the real threat is. It's not just that it's a Christian that who, is encouraging people to be free, for freedom, and that includes freedom from the Marxist oppressors that come after us. Can we play just a little bit of my interview with him in 2023? It should be in the chat. Yeah.
I mean, your government in this province makes everything legal. They don't have a problem making all drugs legal, all prostitution legal, all darkness. Let's make it all legal, except for worship in the church. And when I saw what happened, what I was most frustrated of all my trips coming up here, all the times worshiping all across this province, I've been with many of you here, many of the pastors here for years. We did 100 hours worship in the middle of the Olympics in 2010, Winter Olympics. 100 hours of worship. This is not my first rodeo in British Columbia. And the people here are such passionate worshipers. And so I remember thinking, as everything was shutting down, they are trying to rob God of the worship of British Columbia. Your flag has a crown on it. I mean, I don't know how much more you need to know about where you live. Laying down the crowns of praise, the crowns of adoration. And I remember thinking, this is crazy.
Okay,
not that the government's doing
there.
what the
But so this is part of the...
Drea, first of all, thank you for stopping it. The hate that was coming out of that mouth, I didn't know if I could take any more of it.
Exactly, and that's what he's pointing out. And I think there was about 5,000 people there in Coquitlam. So he's had, 5 provinces, I guess, go after him. It's been federal, it's been municipal going after him. He had to find new venues thanks to, pastors stepping up. There was a farmer who stepped up and said you could come to the farm, and then the city tried to say, oh, well, you can't have more than 200 people go to your own property. And now for Montreal, which I believe is happening tonight for that event, a beautiful cathedral, church has said, okay, just come here. And we see in a tweet from Foyt, he says, they are now pressuring, threatening, and attacking the Spanish pastor of the cathedral built in 1930s. We are at tonight in Montreal. It's a moment of decision for the spiritual leaders of this nation. Will they arise in boldness? There's Americans talking about this now, looking at us in horror, just like they did when we locked up the pastors. By the way, we've also arrested many street preachers. That doesn't get talked about as much. And what about our burning churches? Our churches burn. They're still burning. And for the most part, the politicians speaking about these things have been understanding why that hate is happening, why those acts of terror keep happening.
Drea, is that X-posting not the very definition of perverse irony? Evidently, he is hateful because he's about freedom of speech, including freedom of religion, and he plays Christian rock music. But people who are opposed to him coming into a church are threatening the Spanish pastor with physical harm. And where is CBC's outrage? The other point you led off with, how CBC was trying to craft a pejorative headline with the words MAGA musician. Well, what's wrong with being MAGA? As a matter of fact, Drea, I think we're in mega trouble when it comes to MAGA. If someone who identifies as MAGA is no longer allowed in Canada, last I checked, the guy sitting in the White House right now is Mr. MAGA, Mr. Mega MAGA.
Yeah.
I guess we're to cut off relations. This is insane.
Exactly. And it's not only sending a message that Republicans, people who vote Republican, are not welcome here. It's sending a message that Christians are not welcome here. And of course, they're calling him transphobic as well for holding Christian beliefs. They're doing everything they can. It's completely irrational. He has said the so-called tolerant are always the least tolerant. And just two examples here. He posted today, and granted, we don't know if this is on purpose, but their tour bus was rammed into early this morning outside of Montreal. So he posted that. But just the day or so before, he posted footage. Yeah, that's him talking about the car being rammed and nobody was hurt on the bus. But they're they're just trying to do free Christian worship concerts. And all this is happening. And the day before, they had footage showing a car that they said followed their tour bus and harassed them for miles. So, is it being targeted? Did someone just drive into them? And what is next?
Well, Drea, I wanted to ask you about that. Was that just a vehicle accident, or was that a deliberate ramming? Because if it is, I think that meets the benchmark of terrorism.
Of course, we don't know. But, when this thing's happening, when the far left does this type of stuff, look at Tesla. Oh, all of a sudden it's okay. I interviewed people at the Vancouver Car Show when Tesla was banned, and people were like, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're okay with domestic terror? What's happening?
Well, you know what? Apparently, I guess it depends on the type of terrorism. In the morning meeting, our beloved bossman Ezra Levant was talking about another band on tour, an Irish band called Kneecap. By the way, right off the hopper, the name of the band Kneecap, it's conjuring violence. That's referring to the IRA tactic of kneecapping, which was to their enemies, they would take a sledgehammer or a gun and obliterate somebody's knee. So that tells you what they're channeling. But this is a pro-Hamas band, and they wear the keffiyeh, and they chant F the IDF and death to the IDF. So
death to Canada, depending.
Yeah. How is this kosher? And what this Christian rocker is trying to do is, the second coming of the Nazi Party. It doesn't make any sense to me, Drea.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Like you said, the name alone is violent, and they're the Kelowna. We've linked and everything. Even if you just search his name or something, you'll find it. But we've linked his next tours. He's coming over to the West. Hopefully, he'll be treated a little bit better. But I see West Kelowna. So far, as long as I know, have not canceled him. But the rhetoric coming out about it, the city is saying, we are developing a public safety plan for when he arrives. You're literally telling people that Christians are a danger. I mean, this is scary when you look at the values that help found our country to make them a great place so that everybody's trying to get into this country. And I said this in yesterday's live, which is founded on the value of free will, the freedom to worship or not worship. That is a big Christian value. So the name of this tour is called Let Us Worship, and Canada is refusing to let that happen.
Well, two things. One is, let's hope there are more brave men and women out there, Drea, that say, come into my private facility. You're not going to be, frog marched out. Play your music here. And secondly, I always look for the silver lining, even in horrible stories like this. Yeah. And the silver lining here is that this man is increasingly becoming a household name. People that didn't know about this guy, nothing about this guy a few days ago, now know him. And I think as he moves forward with his career, especially in the United States, home of the First Amendment, thank God, that's going to do him well. So as they say, he who laughs last laughs loudest.
Or as they say, God uses all things for good in the end. Preach it, David, whether you realize you were doing it or not. But yeah, it's embarrassing and mortifying to me. But you're right. Thanks for the silver lining. That's what keeps us going. Otherwise, we can't even do this job, right?